Narasimha Rao was operating in a context, even with the demolition, he is operating in a context. To put it entirely on to him is disregarding what all he has achieved apart from that.
Absolutely.
And I see that a lot with Manmohan Singh also, because there's a lot of disregard for what Manmohan Singh also did, which he achieved a lot. They
Sure.
got 200 seats in his
29.
tenure in
209.
2009. Yeah, so that was his performance and
Exactly.
not
Or
otherwise.
206. Yeah.
A follow-up question is, there's a famous quote of Rao, and it is there in the Prime Minister's Museum, which was erstwhile Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, because I've been a frequent visitor there, so I've seen it. Rao's famous quote was, indecision is also a decision. So it is a conundrum, because some people say he was not decisive when it was important to be decisive. Yet you have something as big as 1991, where prior to him, Chandrasekhar was not ready to take that step. Nobody else was thinking. Here was Manmohan Singh, and of course, Manmohan Singh being the main person and Rao being the executioner for this idea, still carried on. So, why does this indecisive sort of negative connotation still stick with Prime Minister Narasimha Rao?
I think that's a misreading of his tenure, frankly. Like, for example, the perception that Manmohan Singh never spoke.
Yeah.
That was only in the last year or so that he stopped speaking, because the situation had become so bad that after 2013, his public appearances declined. But even in his first term, when I was there in the PMO, Manmohan Singh addressed a press conference in every single state capital, including Port Blair. So not just in Delhi, but whenever he moved out of Delhi, wherever he went, I would arrange a press conference with the local media across the country, right? So he was very willing to speak and express his opinion, answer questions, but this image has stuck. Now, in the case of Narasimha Rao, this image of being indecisive is stuck. But if you actually look at the track record, and you have Vinay Sitapathi's autobiography of him, and you have my book on 91, but beyond 91, look at the kind of decisions he took, whether on recognizing Israel or working with China or with the United States, or on the employment guarantee program which started in his time, or on school education initiatives. There's large number of things which he did. But coming back to the statement itself, first of all, it's factually correct that when you do not take a decision, then you are willing to live with the consequences of not taking the decision, which is a decision.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, he's a clever guy. I mean,
of course.
Narasimha Rao. So, he coined the phrase which
is the most captivating phase, by the way, in that museum. I got stuck on it. I was like, wow.
But it's a decision. So when you, for example, decide to not intervene on the Babri Masjid, that was not indecision.
Yes.
People said, oh, he was sleeping, he was ignoring. No, he was not sleeping, he was not ignoring. He took a decision that sometime or the other this will happen. Let us see the consequences, right? But on 91, on your question about the reforms, I think Chandrasekhar was willing to bite the bullet. And I mentioned that in my book. He sent Yashwant Sinha to the IMF to negotiate the terms for a loan. The IMF said, you present a budget and implement these policies, then we'll give you the loan. They came back February 28th, 1991. Yashwant Sinha was to present the budget. And on that day, Rajiv Gandhi withdrew support. So the government collapsed. And Yashwant Sinha could not present the budget, right? And that's why elections were called. It was Rajiv Gandhi's decision not to allow Chandrasekhar to present the budget. Because if Chandrasekhar had presented that budget and locked India into an IMF stabilization program, it would have been difficult then for Rajiv Gandhi to withdraw support.
Yes.
Because here was a man who was dealing with a crisis. So in a sense, Rajiv Gandhi's decision was a preemptive strike. And he assumed that with the elections, he would come back to power. When Narasimha Rao became Prime Minister, as I have recorded, see, First of all, Chandrasekhar was still a little ideological. He was
Yes.
left of center politician.
Yes.
Narasimha Rao was not in that sense a left of center politician. I mean, he was all old congressmen. He was a kind of a socialist,
Yes.
right? That was the old Congress tradition.
Yes.
But he was a pragmatic fellow. And he, as a foreign minister, if you look at his track record, I mean, he was very pragmatic. So on that day, Naresh Chandra met him as cabinet secretary and gave him the note that had already been prepared as to what government had to do. He looked at that note and said, look, I will require an economist to do this. And he called up IG Patel, who had been governor of the Reserve Bank, asked him to come and join as finance minister. And IG, it's one of those bizarre things in life. You're invited to become finance minister of India. And IG Patel said, I've just retired and settled down in Baroda. I don't feel like coming back to Delhi. It's amazing. So he declined the job.